should be good for the audio. So this is going to be the first time I'm doing this, but I wanted to do a little or like a lot of show and tell about art books. There's a lot of art books that I've collected about various things from like foundational stuff, from learning your basics of how to draw in perspective, and just very like beginner fundamental stuff into like more of the art books and video game books that really I think cultivated the style that I really like and I want to aim for. So yeah, let's just do a little show and tell. I also have I'm doing a little dual setup, so hopefully I can get that all situated. Um, let's get into it. Okay, so this is the first one that I just wanted to recommend. I'm gonna start with the foundational stuff. So I would highly recommend Bridgemans Guide. It's a very I would say it's a good reference book if you just want to just kind of leaf through the different pages about different parts of the body. Like if you have a very like technical thing that you're trying to lock down when it comes to like a certain part of the anatomy of the neck, you can definitely just find those pieces and then get those landmarks and really like nail down like all of the different various things from hands to any real ligament or part of the body that you need. It'll give you a whole chapter of like just that section of the body, and I really like that. So you don't have to go through it in any order. It's really like whatever you want to focus on at the time. I've gone through this like so many times at my local library until I actually found a copy that they were gonna throw out, and I just had to take it home. So I was very lucky to get this one. Bridgman's Guide. I would say like it's very good for just like following it, but not like following it to a T or anything like religiously like a Bible, because you can get kind of stuck. But anyway, that's just my criticism. Yeah, keep learning and stuff. The next one I have is also gonna be like one of my top favorite books for fundamentals, and that was actually getting into figure drawing with Andrew Loomis, one of the first furry artists specifically that I followed at the time when I first got into drawing about like four and a half years ago, was recommending this exact book where it's like I have no idea what to draw. I don't know how to draw really anything from imagination. Where do I start? And it was from that one person's post asking this artist that I liked. He replied with just saying like start with like your fundamentals, learn your head proportions, start drawing figures, get this book. It's really good. So I just saw that passing kind of advice and I got it, and I don't think I would be an artist today without this one. I think that it'll just start off. The thing that I like the most about this, unlike the Bridgman book, was that the author will actually be talking to like directly as a beginner artist, and you're gonna be figuring out like, do I want to get into this? Do I want to expose myself to the world of art? Because there's no going back. The more that you saturate yourself in with the mind of being a creative artist and like solidifying that career is like what this whole beginning section and figuring out their approach with figure drawing helped me personally like get into like learning the body, even though that wasn't something I even wanted to draw. But it helped me set a basis and more importantly a mindset and a motivation to learn all of these basic scales and proportions and landmarks to just start having some sort of reference in my brain that I could use, so I could pick up on all of these things that were happening around me, and then I could actually start, bending the rules, not breaking them, but learning the rules so I could kind of weave my way through and around them. So that was really cool. I highly recommend this book. And similar to Bridgman, though, you could still always go back and refer to this and just focus on the chapters that you think that you really need to improve on. I definitely go back like maybe like every other month to this book and just kind of like pan through it and then just try to improve something that I haven't yet. Bridgman's, I should probably keep these about like maybe 30 seconds each because I have a lot. Okay. These ones are kind of similar in the topic, so that's just perspective in general. Oh, didn't mean to hit the table. But it's perspective. And the first book that I got was Perspective Made Easy. This one is definitely the one that I would get, like, coupled with Andrew Loomis, at least when you're first starting off drawing, because it'll dive into these different things, like perspective loosely in the other books, but you won't get a very like crisp, detailed, granular look at the topic because that's not what those books are about. When you want to dive into like setting environments and figuring out more of the depth in your piece, this definitely did help. Yeah, establishing like horizon lines, learning more about what it's like to just look at the world through a window and being able to figure out a horizon line at the eye level and sort of map and plan like things even in this room, like where they are on the perspective of the horizon line so that you could place things in your environments to make them more convincing and actually real to life. And if you want to exaggerate them and whatnot, you could do that with like really cool like fisheye effects and stuff. But even figuring out like human proportions and how they lay down in perspective and like what does that even mean when you're looking at like a railroad and seeing how they proportionately scale up from like 1-point perspective or 2-point perspective. There's just so much jam-packed in here that's like also just like such a small book. I really do like it. And kind of graduating from this one and moving on to perspective sketching. Oh, sorry, I should have mentioned the authors, but Ernest R. Norling was Perspective Made Easy. And then going into George, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Paricchio, perspective sketching. So it'll still start off with like trying to make sure that you understand the fundamentals of perspective, and it's going to run you through those introductory things, but it's going to also really get into like what it's like to draft, real objects in proper perspective. And I found this book very helpful for not only my environments, but for actually just trying to like feel an object in your painting. It's something that I always struggle with, but some things just started to click when I could focus on objects and whatnot. Like if like a couple of cups on a table seemed off, or if like, yeah, a chair or a sofa, like figuring out how to like totally nail these things in perspective makes you like, it's like an achievement. I really do like it. Yeah, it's more into, I would say, the technical side of like drafting objects and vehicles. And it's not trying to teach you those things, but it's trying to teach you the concept of like learning to visualize and properly map these things along your own art pieces. So I really do like this, and I really do just kind of like the way the artist drafts the objects too in this book. It's really like captivating to me. Yeah, a whole bunch of different techniques and a lot of juicy stuff. Okay, so yeah, highly recommend these two together. They're very good. One book that I wish that I got actually earlier on in my like learning phase, at least within the first year of like picking up the fundamentals when I had the Andrew Loomis books and Bridgman, was Basics of Human Anatomy. The one thing that I kind of struggled with was just trying to learn all of the general anatomy and like learning all of the various parts that I didn't need. But getting this book with the essential visual guide for artists was very like to the point of focusing on the different parts of the human body that I need to know as an artist. So I really did like how, again, like in the beginning of a lot of these books, they're just breaking down the beginnings for you, and you can just sort of skip that and then refer to the parts that you really do need. And they almost break up the body into like these clay-like pieces that let you sort of imagine and fit them into each other. I really did think that that was really helpful for me, and I still try to figure that stuff out. Yeah, like it gets super into depth with anatomy, specifically like I found out that I got a way better understanding of like different things from male to female anatomy while looking at this book. Because I wasn't any longer just looking at like the line of action when I was figure drawing, like I learned from Andrew Loomis, but I got more into the granular level of like what are the actions of the muscle, what are they doing when they're pulling, what does the bicep look like when it's curling a dumbbell weight or something like that, and how does the deltoid act when it's pivoting. There's a lot of torque there when it's lifting something. It really does help you visualize like not only like what the muscle looks like, but how it functions and how you can imagine it while it's doing a certain action. So these are really useful for landing your landmarks and like getting some convincing anatomy. I still have a long ways to go, but these types of like material does get my brain thinking, and I really do think that if it can get even my gears rolling, then it'll definitely help you. So yeah, highly recommend Anatomy, the Basic Human Anatomy for Artists, by Robert Osti. Okay, I only have a couple more, I swear, of like the learning stuff. Creating stylized characters, I think, was really helpful for me. I don't think that I could like love a book more, because not only like this is my one thing about like looking at beginner kind of level books, like for people that like, let's say I'm gonna be kind of a critic, but like let's say you see how to draw manga girls or something, or how to draw anime creatures or whatever, and it's set in like a very non cohesive style where what they're teaching you is right in words, but what it actually visually looks like is really off. It feels like it's kind of a trite style, like there's nothing original, or there's nothing really like stylized or like full of life in the book that they're trying to describe to you of how to draw something that you should bring to life. This book totally nails that, and I feel like although that these are characters that are supposed to be used as a base to teach you lessons in how to approach like exaggerating different features and stuff of the shapes and the anatomy of really like just like eye-catching color and like character design. It feels like these are actually characters that I would like to see in movies and like television shows and just works of art. They're not just kind of like generic, super plain, uninteresting things. They're teaching you how to achieve this style that's like used heavily in like large industries. Yeah, just like flipping through this, it's already like motivating to see like how nice they could like structure a character and throw its shapes in all these directions and have it still flow. Like it has a really tight flow to it. So I look at these from time to time when I think that I have to step outside of my own comfort zone, because I feel like I still rely heavily on just having things kind of proportionate, and I'm very critical of that. But when I see something very stylized, I'm like, oh, I can get into a different type of flow here. And that's definitely like what this book helps me do. So yeah, I wish I also had this book earlier on too. I find a lot of really good books that I find out from other artists, and it's always usually way too late in like oh, I wish I had this earlier to learn from. So yeah, Creating Stylized Characters by the studio, it's 3D Total Publishing. So highly recommend that one. This one, or these two rather, they're really highly recommended, and I personally, I'll admit, I although I'm sharing it right now, I haven't gone through it all that much, even though I've had it for a while. I've had it for a couple of years. And that's because it focuses on a lot of composition and storytelling with just the way that you frame shots, at least with framed ink. So Yeah, you're drawing and compositing a visual style, and it's very, very helpful for like, let's say if you're doing comics. And I think that if I didn't read this too, at least to like expose myself to all of the cool angles and what are the striking frames that you could set up to tell a story, I wouldn't have started my own comic. So definitely something that I'm still a little hesitant to get more into it because I don't feel totally confident that I know the real basics of like telling a good story or formatting the story or uh, setting up each shot to tell the most that you could with that scene. And that's a little daunting to me right now, but definitely telling a story and owning your own comic and making it, it's by far like one of the most gratifying things so far in at least like my art experience. So there's that one. And frame perspective is just what I picked up because I felt a little bit still lacking that ability to generate the perspective or eye-catching scenes in the comics. So I wanted to break this down further so I could then employ those skills and abilities in my own art. Yeah, this is again like, although I have them, I am kind of ashamed that I am recommending something that I haven't totally sunk my teeth into yet, but definitely good stuff, at least from what I've heard and all the people that recommend it to me. Last one that I think this is my most recent art book, even though it's probably one of the oldest boring textbooks that I think anybody would see in my collection. And that's just Baroque Painting. And the reason why I picked this up was because when I was in the library, just sifting through the art section, I was also having a hankering to just like look at what have the past giants, have done, because I'm just standing on the shoulders of all of their great work, and I'm looking at all of the work that people are making today, in the modern world, and it's all digital and it's all got this different type of like texture feel to it. And I wanted to step back from just digital feeling works and just kind of appreciate like what people have done, in the past. And it's really crazy. Like they did this with actual just physical pigments and paints and mixing that and just using those really, basic mediums. And it's greater than like anything that I've ever done. And seeing kind of like the nitty grittiness of like how clear they could use their mediums for what they've done in the past. Like 1624, Franz Hals. It's like, this is really beautiful. And I really like, they can achieve this level of detail, lighting, value, composition, all within like a physical medium, is something that I'm very like, I've always like considered underrated. So I go and I flip through here, and when I want to incorporate just a little fraction of anything that I could absorb from just seeing like a particular like ray of light hitting something, or like maybe a detail or a chink in the armor, or like a fold in the drapes or the cloth, the feel, I refer to this a lot. And when I'm doing my digital paintings for commissions, I'll definitely look through this, and I'll definitely try to see if I could just get like a little glimmer of light from one of these really good paintings. So yeah, although it's pretty much one of the most boring books that I think that people don't find interesting, I still think that it's worth looking at and figuring out what the masters did before. So this one, just last boring book. This isn't even really an art book, but you could even just like look through things like these Japanese furniture magazines. It's just like an interior design type of magazine where people who actually own homes and stuff can like set up their apartment in a very fancy, modern looking way. Like the reason why I recommend this book, or just finding random cool books that you like of interiors or anything from a magazine, is just like build your reference library. Like figure out if this could help you maybe later in the future, and I do this all the time where I'm like, oh, this would be. I'm looking at like this picture of like this scene with this family and like a really like nicely designed interior, and there are a whole bunch of good ideas here that you could take by setting these props up in your own drawings. And I've been saved so many times by just trying to figure out like, oh, what can I incorporate? Like that wall looks really cool. Maybe I can throw that in one of my I don't know, portraits or anything like that, like in the background. And it's something that I would have never thought of if I didn't like look for some interesting, inspiring reference. I'm like, oh, here's like a really cool sofa. Maybe I could have a character sit on that sofa. And you're also incorporating like the different books frame, I think it was called frame perspective, perspective sketching, and you're referring to all these different things in your past that you're like mishmashing in your brain, and like that's where it's like I'm having like all the engines firing, and it's really awesome. Like even something as plain as like a little Japanese interior design book is really inspiring sometimes. So I'll set that off. And this one, let's get on to more of the fun stuff. Okay, so this is Doodle Quest. I think when I first started, in like the first couple of months of when I was thinking of being an aspiring artist, I just wanted to draw. I just wanted to doodle something and be happy with the doodles. And there's this really awesome artist, Anthony Holden, and I was following him on Twitter like forever ago, because it started off with Inktober, and I saw his Inktober stuff, and I'm like, wow, these are really beautiful. He features all of these like different wacky doodles that just seem so effortless, and they're so cool, and they're just so funny and interesting to look at, and they're full of character, and just like, it's just pen and ink. That's all it is. And he can make all these very silly, like, I don't know, pigeon head old lady and stuff, and just like it feels like a mixture of life drawing with just like funny cartoon ideas that, I don't know, he really just pulls together, and it's very like childlike, but also it has some serious tones sometimes. And yeah, seeing this as a very like aspiring artist was really like, wow, he makes doodling look so effortless. I at least want to, attempt at doodling. So I did do my best to do a lot of different pen and ink drawings, like inspired by his style and his kind of like kooky nature of like RPG stuff. I really like this witch in the spell book. So a bunch of just like fun stuff like that. Really cool. Doodle Quest. I gotta be faster with these. So I also have a number of Japanese books, but amongst one of my favorite artists from like the Japanese realm is Yo Yoshinari, and his rough sketches blow me away, like with all of the power and the action that he gets within his poses and his character design. Just it's like next level, and you see that in all of like the anime and like Studio Trigger, that they really draw heavily from like his type of like warrior fighting design, and like, oh, it's just amazing. Like Gurren Lagann would not be what it is without him. Seeing his mech designs and that kind of like Evangelion inspired like mecha stuff is just super cool, and it's all like rooted in really solid like anatomy and poses, and like, oh, it's awesome. Okay, and still I got one more. I was lucky enough to snag this one, another Yo Yoshinari, and I just, oh my gosh, like these full page illustrations in just, it's like a really awesome gallery, and I don't think I have enough books that are just really beautiful, like full color paged galleries. They're so cool. Oh my gosh, yeah, like seeing the composition with like the vibe that I get from a lot of these books and his illustrations is like the feeling of overcoming something, and that's really inspiring, and that's like just boosts me with energy, and I like seeing the fierceness gaze in this picture, and like seeing the aura it kind of emanates is so, I don't know, it's just like almost profound to me in a way. So like, yeah, this, I would say, like, more of these, like, really, like, refined gallery books are also really good sources of motivation and inspiration. Going on to, like, more video gamey type stuff. I do have a Mega Man book, and Mega Man was one of the first games that I played on DS, and I think it was Battle Network that I probably spent the most time in, like Battle Network 6, I think. It had something to do with the beasts, I think. But seeing their character designs was really cool and inspiring to me, and I like how, like, very solid, like they're all like absolute units when it comes to like they're really like focused, and like blocky cartoonish design was really eye-catching to me. Even in like the Sonic universe, it really was something that I pulled a lot of inspiration from, and it, although they're really toony, they have a lot of like three-dimensionality to them, that they exist in like this very like video gamified world that really like spoke to me. And I think that's something that I also want to incorporate into my characters and like how I go about designing things. uh it's just so cool. Yeah, so that's Mega Man Battle Network, official complete artworks by Capcom. I got a lot of, I don't know if I've gone through any Dark Horse yet, actually. I have a bunch of Dark Horse comics. It's actually kind of just get through the last chunk. I have a lot more on the shelf, but these are just my top faves. Okay, so this is the art of Overwatch. Big fan of the game design. I don't play the game a lot, but I fell in love with the art style and just the creativity that the game has with like their different weapons and like character designs. It's so cool. Like, oh my gosh. Whenever I look at like these group photos and just seeing how that they like show all of the characters different like proportions and how they line up, is something else. It's so cool. I think because I'm more of a like furry character illustrator, I do focus more on characters alone than my environments, and seeing how that these books really do focus on just character design and how they came to be from like a rough idea to a refined sketch to a flat colored sketch is something that I really do want to improve on. And then just looking at the final renders looks so cool. Really strong silhouettes, really strong like proportions, and really zany characters. This is just like really like fun eye candy to me that I can't get enough of. Like seeing these alts, oh, it's so cool. I wish I could have seen that in the game. Just all these behind the scene things are really cool. So yeah, highly recommend this book too. The Art of Overwatch. I think it's like everywhere. You can even get it at like Box Lunch or something. So there's that. Okay, I don't think I have enough room on the table. So next one, Zootopia, actually. That's what got me into the fandom. So thank you, Zootopia. I'm the Z-Gen, I guess. Yeah, seeing the movie about 6 times in theaters was definitely something that wasn't necessary, but I very much did like doing that. And when I eventually got the DVD and got to see like the backstory of the development of the film, I picked up this book, and it goes way into the depth of like what all of the initial drafted ideas were for the world, what the plot was gonna be. Nick was gonna be this other kind of like the film overall was gonna take a very different turn, because it was going to focus on like the predators having collars and being very oppressed in this way, and that would have been a way darker movie. But I don't know, maybe they'll do something dark for Zootopia too. I know that's in the works, but I definitely do hope that they take that kind of more like sobering tone, and something that's very conflicting, which Zootopia did highlight. But I really do think that they could do a better job of like not being so lighthearted. But anyway, yeah, seeing all of the anthropomorphic characters in, who was it that actually, Corey Loftus, yeah, just, I seen a couple of videos on his, way that he breaks down, like, how the skin folds on different animals, and how the fur acts around the different, muscles and whatnot, and, like, the way that he draws plantigrade animal legs is super cute, and how he maintains the overall essence of the animal is like super cool. So yeah, even the tigers are amazing. Like so fluid, super good poses. And just seeing the way that it all comes together is just really beautiful. So yeah, time and time again, I will reference this and I'll try to like absorb as much as I can. Hearthstone, actually. This one, I really do like. Not that I don't play a whole lot of games. I tried playing a little bit of Hearthstone, but this in particular, the way that I look at, what is it, Studio Blizzard, how they approach not only their game design, but how they approach their illustrations is with very solid textures. Like you can almost feel what they're drawing, and that's something that I want to incorporate into my ability to render something. I think that if I could just gleam some of the way that they draw the textures in the armor, like my ability to like render like very like fantastical scenes would like be amazing. I like how they evolved from like seeing their traditional stuff back in the day to like what they're doing now, and it's just so cool. You just want to reach out and like grab it. So always seeing like these kind of bloom lit backgrounds with the rim light on the character in the foreground, that's the kind of stuff that I want to do in my like official like fully rendered paintings that I want to spend the most of my time in. And it feels like no matter where my eye goes, I'm always focusing back on the really good composition, and like the really like the worlds always feel so like fantastical and vibrant and lived in that I'm never really like bored with the whole piece. So that's really fun to look at. It's just so cool. Like it just makes me want to go on and make a RPG comic with really cool splash art. So yeah, Hearthstone. I really love their stuff. And okay. Oh, actually, I think we're pretty much done. All of these three are just okay. They're not art books. They're books full of art, though. They're comics. And my favorite comic actually is Black Sad. Seeing the way that I hope I'm not gonna butcher this, but I think it's by two artists, Diaz Canales and Juan Varnido. I hope I'm saying that okay. But just like looking at all of the beautiful detail and just seeing everything that they put together in this book is the like magnum opus of like what you could achieve in a comic. It is just, even though I've read all three of these from like back to back, like 3-4 times each, I'm never bored with them. They're always super interesting to look at, and just like look at and notice all the detail and all of the little like seeing all these little characters writing something. Like they don't have to be in a comic to convey what's happening in the scene, but they're there, and you'll notice it when you reread it time and time and again, because it's super interesting, and the plot and the story that it goes with the characters are really engaging, really noir-esque, and that's like it's so cool. Yeah, I could just gush all day about Black Sad. Yeah, by Dark Horse Books. I have a lot of Dark Horse stuff. But that's about it for my top, because I think it's been a bit of me rambling, and I just wanted to share a whole lot of books that I think, if you feel like you need, oh my god, if you feel like you need a bit of inspiration or something to add to your collection so you could just be motivated and enjoy looking at art again, I highly recommend them. Yeah. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a good day. I think I'm gonna do a little bit of reading. Bye-bye.